The holographic display flickered as Alara adjusted the sensors again. 3 months stationed on Outpost Epsilon, orbiting a gas giant in the Cygnus system, and the isolation was beginning to wear on her. The small research team of 8 had dwindled to just her and 2 others after budget cuts forced Central Command to reassign personnel. "Anything interesting today?" Dr. Keller asked, his voice startling her in the quiet lab. Alara tucked a strand of auburn hair behind her ear and shook her head. "Just the usual radiation patterns from the planet's magnetic field, although... She hesitated, pointing to an anomalous reading that had appeared consistently for the past week. "I keep detecting these energy pulses. They're too regular to be natural, but Command insists there's no intelligent life in this system." Keller shrugged. "Probably equipment malfunction. This outpost wasn't exactly built with quality in mind." After he left, Alara continued studying the pattern. Something about it seemed intentional, almost like a message. She decided to investigate on her own. Later that night, Alara took a small research vessel toward the energy source. Against protocol, she hadn't filed a flight plan. The pulses led her to the dark side of one of the smaller moons, barren and airless, where her scanners detected an unusual formation in a crater. As she landed, her heart raced. This could be the discovery that defined her career, the mistake that ended it. Stepping into her exosuit, she checked the oxygen levels twice before exiting the ship. The landscape was eerily beautiful. It's untouched by anything but cosmic dust and ancient impacts. Her headlamp illuminated crystalline structures that shouldn't exist naturally, structures that seemed to pulse with the same energy pattern she'd detected from the outpost. "Hello?" She called over the comm, knowing no sound would travel in the vacuum, but hoping her suit's transmitter might reach whatever was causing the energy pattern. That's when she noticed she wasn't alone. A figure stood perfectly still at the edge of the crater, watching her. Humanoid, but clearly not human, with limbs too long and a head slightly elongated. Its skin had a subtle purple hue that seemed to shimmer in the starlight. Alara froze. First contact protocols dictated she should return to her vessel and report immediately. Instead, she found herself mesmerized, unable to look away from the beings as iridescent and somehow expressing both curiosity and caution. The alien made no move toward her, simply observing with an intensity that should have frightened her, but instead awakened a profound curiosity. Who was this silent watcher? What did it want? Slowly, deliberately, Alara raised her hand in greeting. The alien tilted its head, studying her gesture. After a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, it mirrored her movement, raising its hand with 5 slender fingers spread in what appeared to be a tentative response, communication, possible understanding. Alara's scientific mind raced with implications, while something deeper stirred up, connection forming across the vast differences between them. She took a single step forward, breaking the invisible boundary between observation and engagement. The alien remained still, watching her silently as the stars wheeled overhead and history quietly rewrote itself in that lonely crater. For 2 weeks, Alara kept her discovery secret. Each night, she would take the research vessel to the moon, where Zyrex, the name she'd given her silent companion, would be waiting. She'd falsified research logs and sensor readings, risking her career for these clandestine meetings. "I still don't understand why you're here," she whispered, even though she knew Zyrex couldn't comprehend her words. Tonight, she'd brought a datapad displaying simple images: a star, a planet, a human figure. Zyrex studied each with those mesmerizing eyes, then produced a small, crystalline device that projected holographic symbols in response. Alara recorded everything, working late into the station's night cycles to decipher what might be a mathematical language. The patterns reminded her of music, structured but fluid. When she programmed the computer to translate the patterns into sound, the result was hauntingly beautiful. "You're communicating through harmonics," she realized, excitement building as she adjusted her equipment to respond in kind. The next night, Zyrex seemed different, more animated. When Alara played back her attempted translation, the alien moved closer than ever before. "Is it working?" she asked, her breath fogging her helmet slightly. Zyrax extended a hand toward her faceplate, those long purple fingers hovering just inches from the transparent barrier between them. Ilara's heart raced. Every instinct told her to maintain distance. But something deeper pulled her forward. She reached up and, with trembling fingers, removed her helmet. The alarm in her suit blared instantly. 15 minutes of emergency oxygen activated. But what happened next silenced everything else in her mind. The air around her shimmered, enclosing her in a bubble that somehow contained breathable atmosphere. "You've been protecting me all along," she whispered. Truly speaking to Zyrax for the first time without the barrier of her helmet, Zyrax's hand finally made contact, fingers gently touching her cheek. The sensation was electric, warm, and Ilara felt knowledge flowing into her mind. Images, concepts, emotions, all at once. "Your people are watching us," she understood suddenly. "You're not supposed to be interacting with humans either." Through this new connection, she learned that Zyrax was a scientific observer, part of an ancient species that studied emerging civilizations. Humans had been categorized as potentially compatible, but dangerously unpredictable. Zyrax was breaking protocols too, risking everything for these encounters. The realization created a bond between them that transcended species, two souls defying their respective authorities for something neither fully understood yet. As the emergency oxygen warning beeped its final alert, Zyrax reluctantly withdrew. The moment their connection broke, Ilara felt a profound emptiness. She quickly replaced her helmet, but the memory of that touch lingered on her skin like a promise. Back at the station, she found Dr. Keller waiting in her lab. "Late-night research again?" he asked. His expression unreadable as he glanced at her unauthorized flight log. Ilara knew then that her secret was about to unravel. "You've been making unauthorized excursions for weeks," Keller said, crossing his arms. "Central Command is already questioning the anomalous energy readings in your reports. They'll await our options carefully. What if I told you we're not alone in this system?" Keller's expression hardened. "I'd say you're risking an interstellar incident by making unauthorized first contact." "They've been watching us for decades," Ilara countered, pulling up her research. "Look at these translation algorithms. They're languages based on harmonic mathematics. They're far more advanced than us, but they're peaceful. Them. How many are we talking about?" "I've only met one," she admitted. "His name is Zyrax." Keller paced the small lab. "You named it?" "Ilara, this is exactly why there are protocols. Your objectivity is compromised." That night, Ilara found herself confined to quarters while Keller reported to Central Command. Through her window, she watched a military transport arrive, disgorging a team of armed security personnel. Her stomach knotted with fear, not for herself, but for Zyrax. Using her scientific credentials, she accessed the station's communications array and transmitted a warning using the harmonic patterns she'd developed. Whether Zyrax would receive it, she couldn't know. 3 days passed under house arrest. Then, unexpectedly, her door slid open. Commander Vega, a stern woman with silver-streaked hair, entered. "Dr. Nakamura, we're going to meet your alien friend. You'll facilitate communication." Ilara's heart leapt. "You believe me? Our long-range sensors detected a spacecraft entering the system yesterday, considerably more advanced than anything we've encountered. They're asking for you by name." The journey to the designated meeting point was tense. Armed soldiers surrounded Ilara as they approached a sleek vessel hovering above the moon's surface. It shimmered with the same subtle energy she'd first detected weeks ago. A door materialized in its smooth hull, and Zyrax emerged, no longer alone. 3 others of his kind flanked him, all watching the humans with those penetrating eyes. "Hello," Ilara said simply, stepping forward despite the commander's warning grip on her arm. Zyrax approached, stopping just short of the human delegation. The air between them vibrated with harmonic tones that Ilara now recognized as language. "They say they've been observing humanity for generations," she translated. "They believe we've reached a critical development stage where contact is now ... necessary." Commander Vega frowned. "Necessary? Why?" More harmonics filled the air, and Ilara's eyes widened as she understood. Because another species has also discovered Earth, one that doesn't share their peaceful intentions. They're offering an alliance. As Alara translated, Xyrex's gaze never left her face. In that look was something beyond diplomatic interest, something personal that made her cheeks flush with warmth. When Xyrex extended a hand toward her, the soldiers raised their weapons. But Alara didn't hesitate. She stepped forward, crossing the boundary between their species once again, taking his purple-hued hand in hers. In that touch was the future, complicated, dangerous, and filled with possibility. 3 months after first contact, Ilara found herself aboard the Harmony, a joint human-Xyrexian vessel orbiting Earth. As the primary communication specialist, she'd been instrumental in establishing diplomatic relations between the two species. What had begun in a lonely crater had evolved into humanity's most significant alliance. The Security Council remains concerned about dependency on Xyrexian technology, Admiral Chen said during the morning briefing. They want assurances this partnership remains balanced.
Alara sighed.
The Xyrexians have shared defensive capabilities against the Krell threat without asking for our military secrets in return. How is that not balanced? Because we don't understand how their technology works, Chen countered. For all we know, they've built back doors into everything they've given us. After the briefing, Alara retreated to her quarters, frustrated by the constant suspicion. A soft chime announced a visitor. Xyrex. Your leaders fear us still, he said. Over time, the Xyrexians had developed vocal adaptations to speak human languages. Though their speech retained a musical quality, they fear what they don't understand, Ilara replied, gesturing for him to sit. Their meetings had become more frequent, less official, and increasingly important to her well-being. Understanding requires vulnerability, Xyrex said, his iridescent eyes studying her. Perhaps we should show them more of who we truly are, Lara smiled. Is that an invitation? The next day, against protocol, but with reluctant permission from Admiral Chen, Alara accompanied Xyrex to the Xyrexian vessel. Unlike the sterile, mechanical environment of human ships, their craft felt almost organic, with walls that pulsed with subtle light and corridors that curved like arteries through a living body. This is the heart chamber, Xyrex explained, leading her into a vast spherical room where other Xyrexians gathered in concentric circles. Here, we connect with each other and with our ancestors. As they took their places in the outermost circle, the harmonics began first subtle, then building until Alara felt it resonating in her bones. The sensation was overwhelming, beautiful, and slightly terrifying. May I? Xyrex asked, his fingers hovering near her temples. When she nodded, his touch connected her to the collective consciousness of his people. Emotions, memories, and knowledge flowed into her, their history of peaceful exploration, their grief over civilizations lost to conflict, their hope for humanity's potential, and something unexpected, Xyrex's personal feelings for her, deep and complex. A fascination that had evolved into affection and now bordered on something neither species had words to describe. When the connection ended, tears streamed down Ilara's face. They need to experience this, she whispered. The council would understand if they could feel what I just felt. Xyrex's fingers gently wiped her tears. Some experiences cannot be mandated, only offered. That evening, as they stood in the observation deck watching Earth rotate below them, the distance between them seemed both vast and insignificant. Your people have a concept falling in love, Xyrex said cautiously. Is it like finding parts of yourself in another? Ilara's heart raced. Something like that, when his fingers entwined with hers. The familiar connection sparked between them. But this time it carried new meaning, desire, possibility, the terrifying, exhilaration of something unprecedented. This complicates things, she whispered as he drew closer. All important. Discoveries do, he replied before their lips met in the first kiss between their species and explorer. Step into uncharted territory. Alarms blared throughout the Harmony as Ilara rushed to the command center. The Krell attack had come sooner than anyone predicted, 3 massive warships emerging from fold space near Jupiter. "Their weapons are charging," Lieutenant Park announced, voice tight with tension. "Planetary defenses are online, but the calculations show they won't be enough." Admiral Chen turned to Alara. "Where are our Xerexian allies?" "Their main fleet is still 2 days out," she replied, scanning tactical displays. "But Xyrex's science vessel remains in orbit." "A single science vessel against 3 Krell warships?" Chen scoffed. "We need to evacuate priority personnel to the bunkers." Lara's mind raced. During her connection in the heart chamber, she'd glimpsed something, a defensive protocol the Xerexians considered too dangerous to share, requiring a symbiotic neural link between their technology and a living pilot. "There's another option," she said, "but it requires immediate approval and involves significant personal risk." 30 minutes later, she stood in the docking bay as Xyrex prepared a small craft unlike anything humans had developed. Almost translucent, with a single pilot chamber, the harmonic resonance shield could repel their initial attack, Xyrex explained, voice heavy with concern. "But the neural load on an untrained pilot..." He trailed off, unable to voice the potential consequences. "I've experienced your consciousness," Alara said firmly. "I'm the only human who could possibly handle this." Behind them, Admiral Chen watched skeptically. "This is a suicide mission. It's our best chance to protect Earth until reinforcements arrive," Alara countered. As technicians made final preparations, Xyrex took her hands. "You once took a step forward in that crater," he said softly. "It changed everything. And I'd do it again," she whispered, standing on tiptoes to press her forehead against his in the Xyrexian gesture of deepest affection. The small craft hummed to life as Alara settled into the control chamber. Neural interfaces extended around her, connecting to her temples, wrists, and spine. "Remember," Xyrex's voice came through the comm, "don't fight the harmonics. Flow with them as you did in the heart chamber." The craft launched, accelerating toward the approaching Krell ships. As Earth grew smaller behind her, Ilara activated the neural interface. Pain seared through her consciousness as alien mathematics flooded her mind. She gasped, nearly overwhelmed. Before remembering Xyrex's presence during their connection, his patience, his gentle guidance, focusing on that memory, she surrendered to the harmonics. The craft responded, energy cascading outward in concentric waves. When the first Krell weapon fired, the harmonic shield deflected it into harmless particles. "It's working." She heard Chen's astonished voice through the comm. For 9 grueling hours, Alara maintained the shield, her consciousness stretched to breaking point. As her vision began to blur and blood trickled from her nose, the Xyrexian reinforcements finally arrived, surrounding the Krell ships with overwhelming force. When she awoke in the medical bay days later, Xyrex sat beside her, his purple fingers intertwined with hers. "You stepped forward again," he said, voice tender with emotion. "But this time, not just for us, for everyone." Lara smiled weakly. "What happens now?" "The Krell have retreated. Both our governments are negotiating a formal alliance." He hesitated. "And they've approved something unprecedented, cultural exchange officers for permanent placement." Meaning, he said, bringing her hand to where a human heart would be. "I don't have to leave." Outside her window, Earth and the Xyrexian vessels orbited together against the backdrop of stars, different worlds no longer colliding, but dancing in a new harmony that had begun with a single, dangerous step forward